Welcome to Vayanat, the heartbeat of tech in MENA. We bring you raw stories and sharp insights from the founders, investors, and leaders building the region's startup ecosystem. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something truly powerful, the potential of entrepreneurship in conflict-affected regions, specifically Syria. We're unpacking insights from Ahmad Soufian Behram, who's a general partner at Blackbox and the founder of Startup Syria. And we're drawing from the building piece, Syrian Startups Catalyzed Change Report. So for you listening, maybe you're a founder, an investor, a tech professional. Our mission here is to show how innovation and entrepreneurship, well, they're not just about business growth. It's about something far deeper. Peace building, resilience, social cohesion, really laying the groundwork for a more connected, more resilient Syria. And the big question for you to think about is, what specific opportunities and challenges does this present for your work, maybe your investments or your startup? Okay, so let's unpack this. Ahmad's personal journey, it began surprisingly early, didn't it? Launching his first company, Joymakers, at just 17 in Syria, even got angel funding.
Yeah, 17. That's pretty incredible. But then 2011 hit. His factory was bombed, and, well, doing business just became impossible.
Right. So he relocated.
He moved to Lebanon, yeah.
Yeah.
But he was committed, even then, to one day bringing that entrepreneurial energy back to Syria. And you see that dedication. I mean, he spent over 9 years at Techstars, starting in 2015, regional director for Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. He was confidently supporting entrepreneurs in fragile zones, especially, across the Levant. His understanding runs deep. He even wrote 2 books on it, Entrepreneurship in Conflict Zones and Entrepreneurship in Exile. He really, really lives this stuff.
Absolutely. And that commitment, it clearly carries through to his role now at Blackbox. That's the Palo Alto-based platform, right? Co-founded by another Syrian, Fadi Bashara.
That's the one. And Blackbox has a serious track record. They've backed over 400 founders, 60-plus countries.
Wow.
And those founders collectively raised $1.5 billion US, 13 exits, and get this, 91% are still operating.
91%. That's remarkable survival rate.
It really is.
So how did a platform with that kind of global reach pivot? How did they start focusing directly on, well, the urgent needs of displaced entrepreneurs?
Well, it's a fascinating story of adaptation, really. Post-COVID, like a lot of organizations, Blackbox kind of sharpened its focus, moved from being broadly global to tackling a really urgent human need. They're now actively raising a dedicated fund, specifically for forcibly displaced entrepreneurs. People pushed out by conflict, instability.
I see.
What's really interesting here is how a successful global platform saw this critical gap and just committed to serving it. It's directly relevant if you're a displaced founder or someone looking to back them.
Which brings us neatly to Startup Syria. Ahmad founded that back in 2013, right? As a grassroots thing.
Exactly. Started super informal, meetups, sharing knowledge. But it grew, became this vibrant community-led network, now over 10,000 members, all volunteers, organizing workshops, events, just spotlighting those stories of resilience.
So building on that community, Ahmad started to, question the story everyone was telling about Syria's startup scene, didn't he? What made him dig deeper there?
Yeah, he was really determined to challenge that narrative, the idea that nothing was happening inside Syria.
Yeah.
Especially since some government shifts were actually making entrepreneurship a bit more accessible internally.
Okay.
So he didn't just wonder about it. He commissioned this first-of-its-kind report, and the findings were pretty surprising.
What did they find?
Over 200 early-stage startups actively operating across Syria, and more than 300 startup-focused events held recently.
Wow. That's significant.
Right. If you connect that to the bigger picture, it just shows this grassroots energy that external observers were completely missing. It really flips the script on how we should be thinking about Syria's economy.
And among those findings, was there anything particularly standout, something that might catch the ear of, say, investors or founders looking at talent pools?
Oh, absolutely. A really remarkable finding. Female participation in entrepreneurship hit 35%.
35%? That's huge.
It's one of the highest rates in the entire region.
Yeah.
And look, this isn't just a statistic. It points to a unique, maybe overlooked talent pool.
Right.
For investors listening, think about that. It's not just about diversity points. It could be a real competitive advantage. Access to a wave of potentially very resilient, adaptable founders. And, this data really fired up Startup Syria's mission again, to work directly with founders inside the country, give them tools, visibility, and position entrepreneurship as this crucial driver for peace building and resilience right where it's most needed.
And that mission, it became deeply personal for Ahmad. Earlier this year, he went back to Syria, first time in over a decade.
Yeah, and that visit turned into a mission. He saw things that just hit hard, like a tiny medical center. There'd be 3 or 4 square meters, serving 40,000 people.
Goodness.
And his immediate thought was, why isn't there an app for this? For remote medical help. Leveraging the diaspora, there are like 6,000 Syrian doctors just in Germany.
Makes sense.
And he saw over 2,000 bombed schools, too. The reality was stark.
So how did the tech community respond to these observations?
Well, those observations, that urgency, it directly sparked Hack for Syria. Hackathon designed to bring the Syrian tech community together, virtual and in person, to build actual solutions.
And the response?
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
They got over 5,600 registrations.
5,600. Wow.
Yeah. They had planned for one hub, but had to expand to 11 across Syria just to manage it, providing essential internet and power, too. What's really incredible there is just the sheer ingenuity, the determination to create solutions, even with massive infrastructure problems. It's real bottom-up innovation.
And the scope sounds huge. Over 300 teams developing business models, apps, websites.
Supported by 75 mentors from the Syrian diaspora, focusing on 6 core themes: infrastructure, education, healthcare, social cohesion, economic development, and agriculture. Real-world problems.
So what happens next for those teams, those ideas?
Okay, so 16 startups were selected from the hackathon. They're now in a 2-week launchpad program. Mentorship, insights, sharpening their models. And it all leads up to a demo day, pitching to investors, potential partners. It's that crucial step showing how community innovation can actually tackle these big issues.
And one really profound outcome you mentioned was bridging communities. That sounds incredibly important.
Hugely important. It was a first event in 14 years to run simultaneously across almost all major Syrian cities. You had people collaborating between Idlib, Damascus, Demarga el-Zor, places often disconnected, all around a shared mission.
That's powerful.
And this kind of unified effort also highlighted some emerging regional advantages. Northern Syria, for example. It's benefiting from fewer sanctions under something called General License 22.
Okay, what's that?
It's basically a specific exemption from the U.S. Treasury. Allows certain humanitarian and commercial activities. So in the north, you're seeing somewhat better infrastructure, more operational flexibility.
Interesting. How does that change things on the ground?
It's actually reshaping market dynamics. We're seeing Damascus-based startups now looking at northern Syria, that's like 4 million people, as a real market. And vice versa. For anyone thinking about market entry, that's a crucial insight. Internal opportunities are opening up.
Okay, so let's talk practicalities. What does this all mean for someone actually trying to build a startup in Syria? Ahmad's experience points to massive infrastructure hurdles, right?
Oh, absolutely. Persistent electricity problems, internet connectivity issues.
Yeah.
They're huge. Founders rely on solar, generators, even Starlink sometimes.
Right. And consumers.
Often, consumers only have those social media bundles. Internet just for Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram. Ahmad told this story about an e-commerce platform.
Yeah.
They sent out an SMS marketing campaign. Over 1,000 messages with discount links. Got 0 clicks.
Yeah.
Because people couldn't open the links outside their social apps.
Wow. So the takeaway for founders and investors here.
It really underscores the resilience, but also the need for completely different design thinking. You, as a founder or investor, have to realize conventional digital strategies just won't cut it. You need offline-first solutions, maybe SMS-based models. It forces incredible innovation, actually, turning that barrier into something unique. And it definitely signals huge pent-up demand for when those constraints eventually ease.
And beyond infrastructure, there's the support ecosystem, which you mentioned is, well, immature.
Yeah, the entrepreneurial spirit is there, it's strong, but institutional investment, seriously lacking. It creates this bottleneck. Founders have the drive, but they have to slow right down just to survive because local investors often aren't set up for modern startup funding.
Is there any positive movement there?
There is, actually. Cautious optimism, maybe. Ahmad noted things started shifting this year. More conferences, more meetups, growing interest from returning investors. So what's fascinating is you're seeing the very beginning of that ecosystem buildup. It'll take time, for sure, but the seeds are there.
Then there are the legal frameworks. Ahmad pointed to outdated laws making things difficult.
Historically, yes. Really impractical requirements. Mandatory office registration application fees, even asset deposits just to start. Plus, older laws had intrusive security demands, local data storage, government access.
That sounds tough.
It is. But again, maybe a glimmer of hope. Ahmad mentioned the new Minister of Telecommunications and Digital Apps, Abdul Salam Haikal. He's known for being pro-entrepreneur, so potentially a more favorable mindset coming into policymaking. That could help tackle some of these hurdles.
Okay, and the elephant in the room, investment. International sanctions are obviously a huge barrier.
Massive barrier. And internally, the investment culture itself is often misaligned with, say, Silicon Valley norms. Things like simple agreements for future equity or convertible notes. They're pretty standard early-stage tools elsewhere because they're flexible and founder-friendly, but they're largely unfamiliar in Syria. Local investors often want big equity stakes up front, quick profits. Ahmad put it very bluntly. They don't believe in exits. They believe in profit.
Yeah, right. So that's a fundamental mismatch.
It is, and it poses a real challenge, especially for the diaspora and global investors looking in. Syria's market size has potential, no doubt, maybe 30 million people, more than the GCC combined, if you exclude Saudi. But potential alone isn't enough anymore. Investors want to see regional scalability, and that feels, well, difficult right now given Syria's situation.
So what's needed?
The bottom line really is it needs a collective push. Strengthening that local community, fostering collaboration, building genuinely solid companies that can eventually attract serious investment.
Right.
And leveraging that shift we're seeing in the diaspora, moving from just humanitarian aid towards more long-term sustainable engagement.
Ahmad's perspective goes beyond just the economics, though. He strongly believes startups can be platforms for social cohesion, bringing people together, solving shared problems, creating jobs, basically offering an alternative to division.
Yes, and that's a powerful idea. But it's crucial to be intentional about it.
How do you mean?
Well, ensuring this peace-building aspect isn't just wishful thinking. Ahmad stresses a no-harm approach. It means being really inclusive, sensitive to local dynamics, making sure opportunities are spread across different groups, not accidentally deepening inequalities.
Right.
It's about seeing peace-building, not just as a nice side effect, but as a core objective of what these startups are trying to achieve. Lasting impact comes when you really prioritize that social inclusion and shared purpose.
Looking ahead, Ahmad has a pretty ambitious vision for Syria's entrepreneurial future, doesn't he? Despite everything.
He really does. He believes Syria could become a powerful startup hub if those core issues, peace, security, social cohesion, are addressed.
And what would that actually look like? What's the tangible vision?
He talks about startups maybe setting up back offices or operational centers in Syria. Why? Strategic location, close to hubs like Dubai, but with significantly lower operating costs.
Okay, that makes sense.
And this setup would give Syrian professionals vital exposure to high-growth companies. Crucially, it would also give them access to equity through things like ESOPs, employee stock ownership plans, allowing them to actually own a piece of the companies they're helping build.
Yeah.
He thinks that will fuel the next generation of globally competitive Syrian founders.
So, a final thought for you, our listeners. In regions marked by conflict, by immense challenges like Syria, maybe the entrepreneurial spirit isn't just about reviving an economy. Maybe it's a truly profound force for social change, for community building, maybe even for peace itself. The question is, what role might you play in these emerging ecosystems? Ecosystems that are quite literally rebuilding from within. For more stories like this, subscribe to Bayanat's newsletter and stay updated on the latest in MENA's tech and startup ecosystem.